Do we turn our backs? And what I'm telling you now, not in my name, not today, not ever, and I'm frankly ashamed of anyone who had any shred of voting for this, because it is frankly disgusting. Thank you, Lord.
An extremely heated council meeting here in Portsmouth. Councillors have passed a motion asking to close the city's door to asylum seekers. Home Secretary Theresa May will now consider the request. Opposition officials say it's a very sad day for Portsmouth.
To hear, a large member of the City Council from the Conservative group and the United Kingdom Independence Party backing a motion to say that Portsmouth is closed to refugees who have suffered so much and gone through such terrible, terrible humanitarian crisis and had to give up so much that we're not prepared as a city to actually stand up and say, we're here to help, we want to support you and do as much as we can to assist, taking you away from such an awful crisis. And I'd like to personally apologise on behalf of the City Council that this has actually been passed. I, say myself and 16 other members who voted against it find it absolutely reprehensible that the City Council would do something as appalling as this.
Since 2000, Portsmouth has been a designated cluster area, towns and cities where asylum seekers can live and get support while their applications are being handled. The aim was to reduce the pressure on London and areas where there are large international ports. But the leader of Portsmouth Council, Donna Jones, says the city's schools are bursting at the seams. The cost of providing additional school places falls on the local council. Those costs are partly reimbursed by central government.
We are undergoing an emergency building programme in our schools. We are cramming classrooms into fields and playgrounds. We are overdeveloping our school sites because we have a crisis, and I don't use that word lightly. So what's instigated and what's brought about what I've asked for is not we don't want any asylum seekers here, it's about capacity. This is being spun and twisted to try and make us look like we are evil, wicked Tories that are heartless and we don't want asylum seekers here. It's not about that.
Accommodation and support costs are paid by the Home Office. Between April and June this year, 124 asylum seekers were housed in Portsmouth. That's 43% of the South East's total. Some critics argue that's a small number compared to other parts of the UK. In the same period, Liverpool had 1,369 asylum seekers, while Rochdale had 956. Portsmouth is taking more than its neighbours, with no asylum seekers in Reading, Bournemouth, Chichester, Winchester and Guildford in the same period. But Portsmouth's share is 0.45% of the national total. At the end of the day, aren't these numbers really small?
They are really small, yes. I won't hide that in any way, shape or form. Unfortunately, we're at a situation where the school numbers or a number of available school places are really small. And so, a relatively small number of people can have a huge distorting impact. And if people who already live here can't send their children to our schools, they're not going to thank us for that. So we need to make sure that we can cope with everybody who's in our city. And that especially includes those that are already here.
The council leader says Portsmouth has received 46 unaccompanied child refugees over the past 5 years, and 92 since 2000. Figures released under the Freedom of Information Act show that as of Tuesday, 18 of the asylum seekers in Portsmouth are children. 5 are of school age, but all of them go to schools outside of the city. Literally a handful of children, asylum seekers who would need a school place. Is there absolutely no way to accommodate that handful?
It is not about just accommodating that handful, because that handful might be the straw that breaks the camel's back. And also, what was failed to be addressed there was the peak numbers. They might say it's on average this number in a year, but some years it could be a higher number. And after all, they're looking at past performance, not what might happen in the future. And we still have to cope with what happens in the future too.
But opposition councillors disagree. They say Portsmouth should work with neighbouring councils to share asylum seekers.
There was no evidence given that asylum seekers had any real impact on the infrastructure of the city at all. No impact on school places, no impact on housing. And yet we have decided to say that Portsmouth PLC is closed for business to people whose crime is to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, whose crime is to have a real fear of death or torture or kidnap or rape, when they have next to no impact, and there's no evidence that they have any significant impact on our infrastructure.
Say it loud, say it clear. Refugees are welcome here.
Protests were held outside before the council meeting. One lady told the crowd how Portsmouth welcomed her as an asylum seeker.
You cannot abandon them in the street. We are all here together. That's why it's called United Kingdom. If it's not United Kingdom, then you have to change it, because it's a United Kingdom for us to come here and stay, and everyone. I think all of us were migrants from all the ancestors, white, black, whatever. We are all ancestors in this. We are all refugees in this country. We are all immigrants from other countries.
The message was the opposite at the other side of Guildhall Square. A handful of protesters from the Pie and Mash squad. They say they love Britain the way it used to be. The question now is, will Theresa May agree to blocking asylum seekers entering Portsmouth? The Home Office hasn't replied to our request for a statement. How confident are you that Theresa May will remove Portsmouth from the list of cluster areas?
That's a $64,000 question, because in the end, what she has done is given a contract to a company who finds the cheapest housing area they can, which in this case happens to be Portsmouth, which is why they come here. So we have to prevail upon her to say, yep, we'll send them somewhere else. And to be fair to the government, that will be difficult for them, because they're still trying to cut the deficit too.
Councillors say the asylum seekers who are already in Portsmouth will continue to stay in the city, but it's unclear how this motion will affect the government's separate resettlement programme for Syrian refugees. The Home Office is expected to negotiate with Portsmouth Council about involvement in the Syrian refugee scheme. Dale McEwan, Solent News Now.